Chris did practice. I know I saw a tweet or something that, he was out there later working on the side, but he did work today, Chris Jones. All right.
Can you give that list again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. Dieter, Nadi, Mike Dana, Yasir Durant, Okafor, Rankin, and Yelder. All right.
There's Coach. All right, Coach. Well, we'll start with Sam Mcdowell. Go ahead, Sam.
All right.
Hey, Coach. How are you?
How you guys doing?
Good. I know when you guys make roster decisions this time of year in the next week or so that a lot goes into that, but how much of that factor is preseason games, what you see on film in preseason games in a typical year?
Really a lot. When we had preseason games, that was a big factor, especially on special teams, because that was the only time that we really went live and saw somebody tackle or block live. But now, we have to make decisions off of practice, like I said last week. And, we meet every night as a staff and we go over each guy and we evaluate each guy and we put grades on them. And, and we're really, really, obviously all we're doing is looking at practice and that's all we really can do. And, everybody's in there, everybody hears what each guy says, so we know where everybody stands.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, along those same lines, what Sam there just asked, the fifth or sixth wide receiver position often comes down to their ability to contribute on special teams. What specific traits do you look for before you determine they're pulling away from the rest of the pack?
Well, what we're looking for is guys like Pringle, guys like Kemp, guys like Dieter. We are so fortunate. Our wide receiver crew and core is really, really, really good on special teams. All the way down the line from DeMarcus on down. So it's a solid group. I love Nicole. I love all those guys. The only guy we really don't use is 14. Besides that, everybody has a role on special teams, and every one of them brings something to the table.
Let's go to Seren. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, around the league, a number of teams choosing not to practice today. Coach Reed talked about the conversation that was had yesterday. I'm just curious, what the tone was like, whether or not there was a conversation today, and what your personal opinion is about the teams not practicing.
Well, I really feel for what's going on. It's really a shame that we're still dealing with this. That's really how I feel about it, but. Our team is a solid group. They love each other. We talk all the time, and I think Coach Reed really has a great handle on the whole situation. He talks with the leaders of our team, and if something's said, behind closed doors, I don't hear about everything that goes on, but I know there's a lot of great conversations going on within our football team right now.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking some time. I have just two things. I was wondering if you could provide some insight on what you're seeing right now at the gunner position, and then I was just curious about what Rodney Clemens could potentially bring to the table.
Yeah, the gunner position is looking pretty good. We have some good solid depth there. We brought Antonio Hamilton in from the Giants, who probably was the Giants' #1 gunner last year. When you put the tape on, he made a lot of plays for him, and we're really happy to add him, to the mix. So right now, I'd probably say, Antonio is in the lead with Pringle. Obviously Pringle was our gunner all year last year, and then we have a number of guys, behind them. Kemp, he was a starting gunner for us, and he's really looking good this offseason, coming off his knee injury. He's looking good, and other guys that can play it. Robinson can play it. Fenton can play it. There's a number of guys that can play gunner for us, and some of these young guys look good too. The Sneeds of the world, and Bo Pete Keys. They're all contributors, and they're all going to help us this year.
We've got time for a couple more guys. Let's go Adam and then Nate. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Dave, how you doing today?
How you doing, Adam?
Good. Hey, just along the lines of what we've been talking about here, do you have a feel for some of your younger guys and what you have? You mentioned Sneed a little bit, but I was wondering about Sneed, Willie Gay, Darius Harris, those kind of guys.
Yeah,
do you have a feel for what you're going to get out of them when the season starts?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because really, you see what's going on in practice, and you see good things, but when it's live bullets, you're just not going to know until we get in there and play. I know there's going to be, a period of learning that's going to go on in the first two games with these young players. because you can't match the speed that you're going to get. And all you can do is talk about it every day. We talk about it every day when we watch tape. We watch, regular season tape so they can see how fast it is, but it's hard to mimic that in practice. So, a lot of these guys are going to have to learn on the run. And I think we're in a good position right now. We're getting a lot of practice in. We're getting plenty of time to work on things. We just hope that, if they do make a mistake, it's not a huge one. But everybody will make a mistake, and we just move on and don't make the same mistake twice. I mean, that's what we try to do on special teams.
Let's go to Nate Taylor to finish off. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Dave. Thanks again.
Hey, Nate.
I know you mentioned earlier sort of the discussion going on with the team in relation to everything that's happening in the country and other teams obviously not practicing today. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that and ask if you could give perhaps an example that demonstrates sort of the unity and sort of the conversation between players and coaches as you guys move closer to opening night, considering that you guys are 2 weeks away now from that being the case, about how you guys want to move forward.
Well, I just know our team is close, and I know we talk about everything. I mean, nothing's really kept a secret. And Coach Reed's the one that sets the table for that. He sets the table in meetings. When we're behind closed doors and without talking about everything that, we do there, I'm just letting you know that it's an open conversation and everybody, is free to say what they want to say.
Good morning, Coach.
Hey, Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was curious about Antonio Hamilton, and now that you guys have been able to work with him for a few weeks, do you see him more as an inside guy or an outside guy, maybe a little bit of both? Just was wondering your evaluation.
Yeah, since Hamilton has been here, he's very smart. We talked to a lot of people where he came from, the Giants, and just understanding his strong points. But, right now we're using him in multiple roles. We're using him on the inside. We're using him on the outside, because he had done both in his career. So, just trying to find the best pieces to the puzzle to put out there on the football field so we can win some games. But he's definitely going to have an opportunity to be able to help us in multiple positions. And, that was the same thing that Kendall Fuller was able to do for us last year.
Let's go to Steve Walls. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Steve, what's happening?
Not much, man. With everything that's going on between yesterday and today, teams boycotting for change, causing games to be canceled across sports, and some NFL teams canceling practice. Being a black, coach in pro sports, was it hard for you to come in today? And also, what have some of the conversations been like within the team within the last 24 to 48 hours? Yeah,
well, you look at this team and, just playing under Coach Reed, man, I tip my hat off to Coach Reed. He really, opened up, the locker room as well as the coaching staff, to be able to communicate about this issue. And just seeing what the NBA players are doing around the National Football League and just listening to our players, our leaders who we have a number of guys on this roster that, put their best foot forward over the last couple of months, really to talk about this issue. It just was something that we're open to. We're very open to understanding and making sure that we're doing the right things and making sure the guys are able to express themselves about this situation. So, Coach Reed has been really good about that. And the players, they're definitely doing their due diligence and making the right decision for our football team. But as a whole, as a group, as one, playing in this league for 12 years in the past, I really tip my hat off to these young guys, for really taking a step forward, but yet still the organization's understanding and finally seeing the things that we've been able to talk about over the last 50, 60 years, and now it's starting to come to the forefront. So just really hope that, as a country, we continue to pray and hopefully, be a one accord. But as of right now, our players, they're doing their due diligence. And Coach Reed is giving them the opportunity and the platform to be able to do that and be able to express themselves as well.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Nate.
Really appreciate this, man. I have 2 questions for you. One is about Rashad Fenton. He seems to just improve since the moment he sort of came to you guys. Just what have you seen from him and his growth? And then secondly, sort of following up with what you just said, I know coaches giving guys the ability to sort of communicate as to what they want to do on opening night. If guys choose to express themselves or to choose to do something similar to what we've seen over the last week, what do you want fans and just the general public to know about the men that you see every day before they make such a gesture?
All right, good. Yeah, I'll talk about Rashad Fenton right first. Since Rashad has come here from South Carolina last year, a late round draft pick, he's just been working extremely hard. You saw later on in the season, Coach Spags was able to develop him and allow him, to play special teams, but yet and still continue to put him in positions where we played him a lot at nickel last year. And we did move him out to the corner a little bit, and he played some there. So, coming into this camp, he knew his exact role, he was going to be a dual guy. So, he's playing faster, and now have an opportunity to mix him in with the ones, with the twos, playing corner, playing nickel is putting a lot on his plate, but yet still making sure that he understands that he's going to be needed in those roles later on during the season. So, with him, he is working hard every single day. I really like his work ethic that he's putting in. He's making some plays. He's around the ball. His quickness, he showed some bursts throughout the course of this camp. So he did a lot of work on the offseason, and we're just going to put him in the best position to be able to make plays for us. And, to answer your second question, whatever these guys come up with throughout whatever they do in the first game, Coach Reed is definitely going to be open to it. We will have discussions. We have team meetings where we're opening up and having guys have the opportunity to communicate and talk about the issues. And so look for guys to be on the same page. And throughout the course of the day, when the cameras are off and these guys are out there working, it's a one team. These guys throughout the course of the last couple of months, last couple of weeks, these guys have been communicating. You can see them sitting around the dinner table, around the lunch table, having these discussions. So that is really good that they're having these discussions and, both sides understanding where they're coming from. But, they're doing a really good job and with the issues but yet still coming here, getting good work, but still doing work behind the scenes of what's really going on in today's world in our society.
Let's go to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, always a pleasure to see you.
What's up, Herb? How are you, man?
Hey, I'm well, thanks. I don't see the palm trees in the background there.
Yeah, we back in camp finally.
Hey, a couple of days ago, we watched L'Jarius Sneed stay with Tyreek Hill deep down the field. And if you remember that play, he was able to turn around and knock the pass away at the last minute. With the exception of his obvious speed, what are you seeing out of L'Jarius that makes you think that, hey, this guy could potentially contribute immediately if he's called upon?
Man, just looking at him as a young player and just trying to make sure that we develop him, because any guy that comes into this training camp that came into this camp, we're looking for them to be able to help us down the road. And, Jairus, he's picking up the lingo. Is he picking it up as fast as we want to? No, but he is working at it. And at this point, he's feeling comfortable. So like I said before, being able to rotate him in with the ones, with the twos, when you're with the ones, all they do is communicate. Tyrann Mathieu, he tells everybody what to do. He knows what he's supposed to do. And having somebody communicate those things to you that quickly, now you can go out and play fast. We didn't have to work on him with his foot speed or with his quickness, being aggressive at the line of scrimmage. He came with those tools after being able to watch film and the scouts, putting that in front of us and for us to have an opportunity to make a decision to be able to bring him in. So with that, just having the opportunity to put him in those positions, to understand, the speed of college versus the NFL and having to do it over and over. You don't have to go to class anymore. This is your class work every single day. So being in that playbook, being in that iPad, understanding the different calls and the different situations that coach is trying to put you in, as well as Coach Reed putting in those different situations and then going out and executing. So, to be able to see him run downfield and for when he was at the combine, have an opportunity to talk to him and knowing what he likes to do, it just was a pretty good match for us. So, he just got to do it every single play, every single day, and just learn how to become a pro in the National Football League.
All right, guys, we're running out of time a little bit here. We've got two more up. Let's go Sarin and then Adam. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, thank you for the time.
Yes,
kind of like dovetail off what Nate Taylor was talking about there about the players in a demonstration. Bill O'Brien of the Houston Texans earlier in the summer said, if his players choose to kneel, he will kneel. What will you personally do? Has there been discussions as a coaching staff, as an organization, about whether there's going to be, we're all in this together as support? You said they will all be in together when you're talking to the players, but will the organization be there and be a part of any demonstration, or will it? Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Coach Reed, like I said, man, one of the best coaches in the National Football League, and he's giving these guys the platform, to be able to open up and be able to express themselves, at this time. So whatever the organization, meaning the players, the coaches, the administration, they choose, and we're going to be one. We're going to be together on all the issues that's going on right now. So once we get to that point, Coach Reed is going to sit down. They have meetings with the players group, and I'm pretty sure they have those communications, and coach will definitely relay them to us. And I believe every last one of these coaches on this coaching staff will be in solidarity with whatever the players choose. And just watching these guys throughout the course of the day, on the practice field, off the practice field, in the locker room, in the training room, they have a lot of respect for one another. And, just having, like I said before, playing in this league, you always have your brothers back. And I think everybody will be on one accord. So we'll just wait to see exactly what these guys want to do. And then I'm pretty sure the coaches will follow, as well as the organization as well.
Let's go to Adam for the last one. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Sam, wanted to ask you about Rashad Breeland. Obviously, you guys are going to be losing him here in a little bit. What's your advice for him for those 4 weeks between the time his suspension starts and the time he can rejoin you guys?
Just keep his mental in check. Last year we had a guy as well that was in a similar situation, and Breeland is looking back on what he did, and he was always engaged with the players, being able to have an opportunity to give them those little tidbits of what they should and what they shouldn't, because we're going to have a lot of young guys that's out there that's going to be playing that don't have many years in the league. So we're going to need his veteran presence and his voice just as much as if he was here. So, for him, just continue to stay in shape, because once he do come back, we're expecting him to come back and be that veteran presence to be able to come in and help us out. So on a continual basis, just wanting him to come out there, be a leader like he's been so far, and helping these young guys, because he knows that his reps are going to be limited. He's continued to get his work on the side and staying after practice and getting running in. So he's doing all the right things, knowing that, that this is a marathon, it's just not a sprint. And he understands, because he's been through it last year before. So just being there mentally for our young guys, but yet and still keeping his mental in check as well, and knowing that he is a part of this organization. But he just has a 4-game suspension, and he's just gonna have to go. He's gonna have to do it, and we're gonna hold him down until he comes back.
Hello, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Nate. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I know you guys are not technically into Texans week just yet, as you guys finish up camp. But looking at the tape of last year, knowing the Texans personnel, knowing how you're trying to work with Willie Gay, is there a specific sub-package? Maybe you don't want to give away necessarily what it is, but is there a certain sub-package or role that you think he may be able to contribute on?
I'll be honest with you. We're in the very preliminary deal with the Texans, and we're careful not to flip the script too quick. You know what I mean? Because 2 reasons. One, we're still evaluating. We're still competing to improve. And 2, we don't want to get stale by getting into it too quick. So we're still working through that process.
Let's go to Sarin Petra. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, I'm curious, how much do you lose? I know you guys, there's a little bit of knowing what the other side's doing, right? When the offense stops and says, hey, run it again and all that, and guys can kind of cheat a little bit. You get to know your opponent when you're playing them every single day. So how much do you lose in the evaluation process, not getting to go up against a team you don't know what they're doing, you don't know their personnel?
Yeah, I think you definitely lose the aspect of guys reacting, but that's one of the advantages of going against our offense day in and day out. They're so multiple. They do so much, and they challenge your eyes. They challenge you with different personnel groups, multiple formations, shifts, and motions. So to be honest with you, we're very fortunate to be able to compete against that offense as compared to some teams.
Let's go to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Matt, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. I wanted to ask you about Darius Harris, since he didn't practice for you guys all last year. What have you anything you've learned about him in the few weeks of practice you've had? You've seen him now on the practice field?
Yeah, I think he's like some of the other young guys. He's trying to knock some rust off at the beginning. And as we've got into camp, he's slowly gotten better and better every day. Certainly for a guy that hasn't played in a year, there's some growing pains, but he's definitely improved throughout the camp.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Coach House. Just had a question regarding your Mike linebackers. It had been mentioned among the staff with Spags that Willie Gay would be working as the backup Sam, and I was wondering who among your younger guys might be a fit for more of that Mike role.
Well, the one thing that we try to do is we try to train those guys in multi-roles, because especially in the situation we're in right now, you don't know who's going to be up and who's going to be down. Hitch and Ben have taken the majority of our Mike reps, but we've repped a variety of guys in that position just in case that we get forced into that realm of things, and we in a game week we got to adapt and adjust.
We've got two more questions, guys. Let's go Herbie and then Matt. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Coach Reed said last week that the biggest thing he's seeing out of Ben Niemann is from last year to this year is his strength. What are some of the things you're seeing out of Ben as we get ready to close out camp? Because he's been a busy guy out there.
Yeah, I got to agree with Coach. Strength, and then also just the confidence. I think last year, as he developed a bigger and bigger role, he grew more confident. And this year, being in a second year doing similar things, his confidence has improved.
Go to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good to see you again.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Following up with Herbie there about Ben Niemann. He's shown a lot of flexibility for you in being able to play multiple positions. How valuable is that? And how valuable too is it to have a guy like that behind Anthony Hitchens that can be your quarterback out there?
I think it's huge. One, Ben's just got a good feel for the game. He sees the game from a wide lens, and that definitely helps you. And the more flexibility you have, the more you can get a guy ready with limited reps, which helps too.
Hey, Coach, good to see you again. You've been working with Patrick since the moment that you both guys got to Kansas City. I'm curious, in the film room, how have you seen him develop as someone that can evaluate opponents and evaluate film? And is there any story that you can remember about an incident where Patrick saw something on film and then was able to apply it on the field?
Yeah, that's a great question. Pat does a phenomenal job in the film room, watching, studying tape, very intricate details of defenders and or indicators. One example that comes to mind was last year against Denver. They had brought one pressure, we were playing Denver late in the season, and they had brought a pressure maybe midway to early in the season, and really it was only one time they had shown it, and we had watched it. Throughout our blitz cut up, but them only bringing it one time, Pat was able to diagnose it, and they actually brought it in a game. I think we hit Tyreek on the sideline on one of them, but he was able to at least see it at post snap, identify it, get the ball out of his hands. It ended up being a big play, a big third down conversion for us.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Morning, Mike. I know a lot of folks outside the organization have kind of put a spotlight on you as potentially being this next offensive coordinator candidate. And I know that probably comes with a lot of flattery, and you're honored for that. I was just curious, as you learn from Eric Bieniemy and Coach Reed, when you are able to finally get that opportunity, what type of things have they shown you that'll stick with you and that maybe you'll take on when you get that chance?
Yeah, I think the most important part is the attention to details that Coach Bieniemy, Coach Reed, they bring to the offense. Really no detail is spared as far as what we want to do on offense from up front, the receiver room, running back room, tight ends, quarterback. So it's very well thought out. It's sound to the offensive mind, and we put it into where we can give the quarterback answers and allow him to play freely and and give our receivers and ball carriers answers as well. So we try to build that into the system, and that's one thing I've learned since being here over the last several years is being able to give the quarterback answers and give our skill players answers within the offense.
Let's go to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, I'm curious what quarterbacks lose. What's the biggest loss they have? In particular, your backup guys, right, that are going to get a lot of the reps and not having these preseason games. What's the part that becomes the most difficult to either get them ready or to evaluate? Maybe a younger guy like Tomlin.
Yeah, the game situations and being out there with the live bullets is definitely the biggest part for a quarterback. The game, it's everything's faster in the game, and so you really can't replicate that to a certain extent in practice. We try to, whether it's drills or giving the quarterbacks fast mental games and mental drills throughout practice to make them think fast and shoot the ball fast. So you try and simulate that as best you can throughout practice, but at the end of the day, when game's going and we're rolling on offense, you got to be able to make quick decisions. So it's tough to replicate that in practice.
Let's go our last two, Nate and then Herbie. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Mike. I wanted to follow up with what Matt asked you earlier. Being a former NFL quarterback, understanding the awareness and the vision you have to have on the field, whether it's watching film of Patrick over this offseason or just in person in live moments, just what impresses you most about Patrick's awareness, given everything that's required from the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think Patrick's getting to the point in the offense where he kind of knows where his answers are. He knows where all the bones are buried on the play. So he's able to kind of anticipate like the counter moves within the offense to where, okay, if they're going to, I know that if a defense does this, kind of puts this play in a bind, well, I know my answers to get out of it. And so I think that's where he's kind of grown the most from last year to this year and going into this year really is really knowing where the bones are buried and the weak spots in the plays are.
Let's go to Herbie with the last one. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to take you back to your playing career. You've had the opportunity to be around the likes of Tom Brady, Adrian Peterson, even A.J. Green, your stint in Cincinnati. And obviously, they're all mega superstars. You now have one in your own quarterback room in Patrick Mahomes. What are some of the similarities for their mental makeup on how they are able to handle the spotlight that comes with being a mega superstar?
No, I appreciate that question. And to be fair, I probably wasn't around those guys long enough to really give a great answer to speak on them personally. But I think the thing that Pat brings is his competitive spirit is incredible. I think he's able to lift and build up the guys that are in that huddle, build himself up as well with his confidence. I think that right there is in his competitive spirit, confidence and competitive spirit. That's what separates him, and that's what makes him great, I think.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
Good. I wanted to ask you about Nicole Hardman. When you guys departed for the offseason, what kind of things did you tell him that you wanted to see him improve and work on in the offseason, and how efficient do you feel like he is now that you've seen him in training camp?
Well, I wanted him to work on just becoming bigger, more explosive. Obviously, he was explosive last year, but he has more in him, and just understanding all facets of the offense. And I think he did a wonderful job this offseason of doing those things and coming back prepared and ready to get to work. So I'm excited where he is right now and what's to come with him.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Morning. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Curious about the system, and I know there's an emphasis always put on learning each position in the offense. And like almost similar to Nicole, how do you balance, okay, we want you to learn every position, but at the same time really hone in on what might be something particular that you really want them to focus on?
Well, it's a juggling act with all the receivers that are involved here. My big thing and what Coach preaches to me is make sure everybody knows every position, because in a game situation, you never know who could go down and whatnot, and we need to continue to put guys in position to be successful. So understanding everything is big, and then just technique-wise, just making sure everybody's on the same page and able to do the same things. And some may be better than others, but we're able to get the job done with whomever is out there.
Let's go to Robert Rimson. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Coach. So Jody Forson is a guy that's had a great camp this year. What do you think is the biggest difference? What's the biggest difference that you see between him last year and him this year?
Understanding the offense. Jody came in as a tryout guy, and we released him, and then he came back, and he was playing tight end, and then he moved to receiver. So just really being able to focus on one position, understanding what's going on with the offense at the receiver position, that's allowed him to play faster and play more physical and let his natural talents show. And I think he's done a tremendous job of that throughout this offseason and through the training camp thus far. He's a guy that's a workaholic. He wants to be great. He's going to do everything possible to give himself the best opportunity to be a part of what we're doing.
Let's go to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, Sammy Watkins did a number of interviews during this offseason, and one of the things he said was, the coaches want me to get 1,000 yards, I'll get 1,000 yards, right? How do you take that when you hear that comment from one of your players? What do you think he means by that? What was your reaction to hearing that?
Nothing. I didn't have a reaction to it whatsoever. I'm around all the guys a lot. I know their personalities. I know how they act and how they react to different situations. And Sammy's a team guy, just like every other receiver within the group is team oriented. If Sammy's called upon, he's ready to answer the bell. If Tyreek is called upon, he's ready to answer the bell. Same with D-Rob, same with Nicole, and on down the line with everybody that we have. So everybody in the NFL, all players want to have success. That's why we're here. We're competitive, and they want to be shown that way. But at the end of the day, we're all team here. And that's how our guys approach it, and that's what they believe in, and that's what got us where we were last year. And last year is last year, obviously, but we have that same mentality of whatever it takes for us to be successful, that's what I'm willing to do. And you saw it in the first game last year with Sammy, 300 yards, and then in the playoffs, he's dominating each playoff series or each playoff game that we had. So when his number is called, he's ready to answer.
We've got time for two more. Let's go Nate and then Adam. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Greg, one guy that I'm sure you were thrilled to see and have gotten about a week now to get to evaluate is Marcus Kemp. He appeared to be on his way to making the roster last year before his injury. Just what do you most appreciate as to what he's done to get back, and what have you seen so far in this year's camp?
Well, me personally, I was devastated, so to speak, when Kemp got hurt last year, because he's a guy that's worked consistently every day since he's been here. And he was having a tremendous camp last year, and I believe he was on his way to making the team, like you said. Getting him back has been awesome. It's been awesome. He knows everything. He's a guy that works, and it's not any questions about anything. He's going to be diligent with everything he has to do, and he brings a special teams value unlike any other. So it's exciting to have him be a part of the room again, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Let's go to Adam with the last one. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Greg, I wanted to ask you about Tyreek and kind of what's the next frontier for him? What are there areas of his game you want to see him expand as opposed to maybe just general improvement from last year to this year?
Well, I mean, he didn't get all of last year in. He had some injury and whatnot, and now he has a full offseason, so to speak, with what everybody else has, and training camp going. I think that he's right where he needs to be. His mentality is continuing to get better and progress and dominate at a high level. And I think he's doing that with his work ethic in the classroom and then in the training room, in the weight room, and then on the field. And it's all translating to positive plays for him when he gets those opportunities. So I'm excited to where he is. I see growth and development. I've seen it each and every year that we've been together, which is a positive. And I'm just looking forward to the next step for him developing and becoming more of a dominant player.